The Parker Institute is the brain trust of truly the best people in cancer immunotherapy. Do you think that by bringing those teams together, not only can they collaborate well, but it gives you almost a key opinion leaders forum in which you can evaluate other new technologies and how it integrates in?
I think our strength is in the people that are working with us. Our strength is in the companies that we're partnering with. So again, for Parker Central, none of the ideas come from us. All of our ideas come from our members and our collaborators. One of the things that we do is that we try to give advice to other groups, even if we're not going to be doing the clinical trials ourselves. Many startups will come to us asking for advice about what preclinical work they need to do, how can they design their phase 1 study, and how they can learn from a limited number of patients that they are enrolling in their phase 1 so that they can make some informed decisions about next steps.
So you mentioned the bioinformatics, which I think is really critical, especially in this age of AI and big data. Could you maybe comment on how a consortium or an organization like the Parker Institute can generate enough big data to actually feed some of these algorithms so we can begin to really identify signatures of response in cancer immunotherapy?
The goal here is not to generate more data, because actually the criticism that we're hearing about the immunotherapy development is that there are a lot of agents that are currently being developed. There's a lot of clinical trials that are being done. There are thousands of patients who are being enrolled in clinical trials. Our goal is not really to generate large data sets, but how we can leverage existing data. How can we go back to studies that did not meet their primary endpoint and try to learn why it did not work. We learn a lot from seeing how early data can be very different than data coming from larger clinical trials. So again, our goal is not to sponsor or fund large studies, but rather how can we go back to existing data and learn so that we can inform next steps. The technology that we have now is very different than what we've had even 5 years ago. So the ability to learn from the existing data, I think, is very powerful.
There are many types of cancer immunotherapy that are out there. There's, of course, the biologics, there's small molecules. But one of the hottest areas right now is cell therapy. Could you maybe talk a little bit about your views on cell therapy and its impact on the cancer space?
With the successes that we have seen last year with the CD19 CAR Ts, it is very encouraging because it's finally a validation that a cellular therapy can become part of the standard of care. The responses that we have seen in some of the hematological malignancies, again, is really bringing lots of people, lots of funding, lots of scientists to start thinking how can we learn from hematological malignancies and start thinking about solid tumors. Solid tumors is not going to be as simple as liquid tumors just because it's more complex. The target or the cancer cells are not circulating like in the case with leukemia. The receptors or the markers that are expressed on the cancer are not as simple as just looking at a CD19 and potentially other receptors on the surface of the cell. We really need to start going back to the drawing board and understand why solid tumors might not be responsive to immune modulation. And part of it is what's happening in the microenvironment. So it's not just a matter of identifying a target that's expressed on the cancer cell but not on the normal cell. It's all about how can we ensure the penetration of the cells? How can we ensure that the microenvironment is receptive to immune modulation? We are very excited about cellular therapy, and I think we believe that it will eventually be a key component of anti-cancer therapy, not just for hematological malignancies, but also for solid.
Could you maybe discuss a little bit about how academic and industrial partnerships might help us realize those priorities?
I think the novel ideas and the science and the understanding of the interaction between the immune system and cancer is not limited to academia or pharma. Our goal is to try to identify some of the key people who are passionate about understanding the interaction between the immune system and cancer, people who have been successful in trying to find new discoveries, and provide the infrastructure that can allow them to work together. And this infrastructure can start with just funding of some of those novel ideas, really going after bold and innovative approaches. The other thing that we offer is the bioinformatics tools that can help with the centralization of the data, but also with the data analysis.